Okay, well, it's game recap time, and what a game recap! What a game to recap. I don't think I've ever seen one before where the whole story of the game changed so quickly and so dramatically at the end. Because for 58, 59 minutes, it was one thing, and then it violently swung the other way. I looked it up. The Vikings had a 99.9% win probability just before the Bears scored that touchdown, that late touchdown. Um, because you figure at that point, it was like I think they scored it with like under 30 seconds left. So you were up 11 points with under 30 seconds left. I can't imagine there's many instances in the history of the NFL where a team has even gotten to overtime in that situation, and we were maybe one little almost near strip sack of Darnold in overtime away from losing the game. But because you think of everything that had to happen at that point just to still get it to overtime, because they had to get they still had to get the touchdown, they still had to get the two, they still had to get the onside kick, they still had to get in field goal range, and they still had to kick the field goal. So they had to get all that done in about 30 seconds, and we let them do it. So I mean, this one definitely goes into the classic, memorable Soldier Field games. We've had, you know, you know, this was kind of an ugly football game most of the way, but it ended up being probably more something. I don't know if anything's ever going to top uh, that big Adrian Peterson breakout game in '07 where we won on a long field goal, and then there was another. There was the 48-41 Bears win. I forget what year that was. That might have been '08. That was like what? God, what was that? That would have been like Farrat versus Kyle Orton, maybe, or something like that. It was 48-41. So this one ends up being pretty memorable. Shouldn't have been. I'm still. I'll always say I'd rather win any way it can happen. I'll always take a win, even a crazy, should have been much easier win over a loss. This should never have come down to this. I watched back my live video. I think I called the Vikings an unserious team about 10 times, and I kind of still think so. They don't play serious football a lot. They do a lot of stupid things. They get their own way a lot, and that happened again today because you know I don't think the Bears really did anything impressive in this game. I don't even think Caleb Williams did anything particularly impressive. I think we let him hit a lot of wide open receivers facing zero pressure. I think that it's as simple as that. For especially a lot in the first half, we weren't covering anybody. We weren't covering Keenan Allen. We weren't even. It was, and then a lot of the plays late. We give up some big plays wide open, like the one that set up the field goal to send it to OT. It's just wide open. We're not. You know. It's happened multiple times this year. Our secondary is very, very suspect and can be picked apart very easily if we don't get any pressure. And we only got a couple of sacks. We got the big one in OT by Grenard, and I think we got one or two others during the game, maybe. But it's like, yeah, the guy can run around. Most quarterbacks these days can scramble, so it shouldn't be taken as a surprise. So I was disappointed, very disappointed overall by the performance of the defense today. I think it was a big step back compared to what they did the last few weeks. Um, probably obviously a little better competition in this game than some of these other games, but they shouldn't have been lit up like they were. I mean, Caleb Williams threw for well over 300 yards. We, you know, we let a couple of receivers have real big games on us. Hoping the 49ers can come back here. They're down right now. But like early, first drive of it, like it's just Soldier Field. I've been saying it for years. The Soldier Field games just drive me insane because weird shit happens and every game ends up being just this muck. And sure enough, first drive of the game, we go right down the field, and then Aaron Jones drops the ball on the 1 yard line. Because of course he does. Because I mean, we could have started having things be easy for us first drive of the game, but we can't do that. We have to fumble the football on the 1 yard line, and then we start giving up. We get that one. There was that one really ridiculous throw. Caleb Williams running to the sidelines, looked like he was just throwing it away, and then it's actually being thrown to a wide open receiver because we decided to stop covering, and then they get a touchdown a couple plays later, and then you know now we responded. I'm glad. I really liked how the Vikings responded because they went right down the field. That's where we got the deep shot um, to Addison, and then what was it, Addison again? Then for the touchdown. Um, so I mean they responded well. You know, but the game didn't start to really turn in our favor till the blocked field goal, which obviously was awesome. But it put the Bears fans into some PTSD, which is good. And hell, I thought we were going to run it back for a touchdown there for a moment, but we took the momentum from that, went down, scored again. Was it that was the Naylor touchdown? And then at least we played from ahead the rest of the game. I mean, until overtime, obviously the rest of the game. But again, we struggled. We couldn't. And the 49ers just threw an interception with their backup quarterback, because of course the Packers get to play a backup quarterback. Oh, fuck that. Where was I? But of course, we had. It seems like we almost get this at almost every game this year. We have the opportunity to maybe have the last possession of the first half, first possession of the third quarter. Maybe we can double up with some points. We never managed to do it. We didn't do it to end the half. We actually let them get a field goal. And then we had a chance to, first play of the third quarter, or I think it was the first play of the third quarter, we hit that big pass to Addison, gets us deep, and then we go backwards on multiple plays and end up kicking a long field goal. The killer instinct on this team is just, or the lack of killer instinct on this team just drives me insane. We kind of kept the Bears at bay really for most of the second half. Then we did get lucky on a couple plays, though. There was they went for a fourth down, and it was just a bad throw. It was like the first really, really bad throw from Williams all day, so it was incomplete. And then there was a third down to Kmet, and he was wide open, and he just dropped it, and they punted. So as bad as the defense played much of this game, they got very lucky on a couple plays. Or Bears might have more points, and then maybe they were not even getting to overtime. But then they muff the punt, and we cash in immediately with the Aaron Jones touchdown, and it's 24-10, and you're like, okay, we're fine now. We're okay. Everything's good. We're going into the fourth quarter up 14 points. Yeah, our defense has been suspect, but there were definitely some throws from Caleb Williams he thought looked like they maybe were going to get picked. Gink almost did another one of his picks at the goal line. If Williams hadn't pump faked, Gink might have had his third this year. But you figure it's probably okay, and then we get the ball back again, and then everything all that stuff really kind of turned south again on that 4th and 1. And we were just over the 50. We're driving. You score anything there, it's a 3-score game. You're fine at that point. We have the 4th and 1. It looked like we're just gonna just do a simple QB sneak, but KOC has to has to overthink it and try to do something cute, because and I like KOC, but he's one of these coaches. We see a lot of them these days. They won't just do the simple thing. They have to try to think up something super clever so they can show everybody how clever they are. And so they went back out, and Darnold's in shotgun on 4th and 1. Like, why are you doing this? You've done QB sneaks this year with Darnold. Just do a QB sneak, move the chains, eat some more clock, maybe kick a field goal, and you're up 3 scores. But no, we try to pass, and it wasn't a very good pass, and we turn it over. On downs, they go down, score, and tried the 2. We at least stopped them on the 2. We let them get the touchdown pretty damn easily. They tried the 2, they didn't get it, so we're up 8. And then, we put together a nice long drive that you think is going to end the game. I wasn't even upset that they kind of got into, we had a touchdown call back. That was when we had the Darnold hit JJ for a touchdown and got called back because of a pick. Probably a good call, but we had a chance to really dagger him there. But we got a field goal, and I was like, I wasn't even considering that there was anything to worry about because it's 27-16. It was under 2 minutes at that point. I sent out the tweet that the game was over. Like I wasn't the least bit concerned. And and then everything happened. We give up a long kick return. And I think it was Dallas Turner made the tackle, or otherwise that might have been a kick return touchdown. And then, we let him go down. We let him go down and score. Thankfully, there was some really bad clock management by the Bears. They actually had some pretty bad clock management at the end of the first half too, where they ended up getting a field goal, but they might have had a chance to try for a touchdown. But they had some very bad clock management then at the end of the game there too, or into the fourth quarter, where they let a lot of time run off. And again, you're not really worried. Like I'm not like super worried, because I know it always comes down to an onside kick, which are rarely recovered. So even when they, like, yeah, you let them get down there pretty easily, but you made them, use up the timeouts. You made them use up a lot of time, and they used up a lot of time on their own, and and then you give up the touchdown, then you give up the 2. So it's a 3-point game, but it's like, well, it's annoying, but we've seen these many times before. I think there was one this year where we had one where they, someone scored late on us and needed an onside kick, and they're rarely recovered, especially the way they do them now. It doesn't happen very often. And then the nightmare happens and they recover one. And shouldn't have happened either. That was another one of these, like, stupid, unforced errors, because that kick might not have ever even made it the 10 yards. But Johnny Munt, didn't even know he was doing it, but he's not paying attention, and lets the ball bounce off his leg, and we almost picked it up anyway. But then they pick it up, and it's like, you've got to be kidding me! This can't possibly be happening. And then to make matters even worse, instantly worse, their first play is just this wide open pass for like 30 yards or whatever. And then they're right in field goal range, and they had to get the kick, and they've had issues with kicking, and we obviously had blocked a kick already in this game. They had a kick blocked last week, but, and when that last kick that came off the foot, it looked like it was going to the left. So I was, for like a split second, I was excited that he missed it, and then of course it goes through. And you're just like, this happens so fast. Like we've seen, you can see a team like blow a late lead and go to OT or lose, or whatever. But it comes on a little more. You can feel it coming. This was not that. This really came out of nowhere. Thankfully, we get that sack of Caleb Williams in OT by Bernard. Terrible play by Williams. He never should have taken that sack. If he throws that away, maybe they convert and keep going, and who knows what happens at that point. And then, we get the ball, we have, a near disaster from Darnold, almost a strip sack, because he was hit from behind, because he standing there holding the ball too long. And, but we got out of that, and really after that play, Darnold was great in on that OT drive. And this was the first time we've seen Darnold in this situation with the Vikings, where he's had to, he's had a couple of the drives where we've had to like get, eat some clock, maybe get another score to kind of bump a lead up or secure a win or whatever. We've had that a couple times. The only other time we were in this kind of a situation where it was like, put the ball in his hands, he can go, win a game. I guess was probably Jacksonville, and that was of course his worst game. I mean, technically, I think he gets credit for a game-winning drive in that game because we did take the lead on a field goal in the fourth quarter. So, he gets credit for it in that respect. But, this OT drive was easily the biggest drive for Darnold as a Viking. And after that sack, I mean, he hits Addison for a first down. He hits Hawkinson for a big one. He hits Jefferson for a big play, and then that deeper shot to Hawkinson sets us up for the field goal, and Romo walks it off, and we win. So it's like an excellent drive at the end for Darnold, and for much of this game, I didn't think Darnold was playing very well. Some of it was he wasn't on the field. I think we had like 9 minutes time of possession in the first half, and then obviously we got like a short field on the touchdown in the second half, and drove for a couple field goal, the one field goal, and then obviously we had the other red zone shot where we only got a field goal, so it's like he wasn't cashing in on stuff. But I mean, statistically, he ended up with a tremendous game. He had, what was it, like 300 and something yards. Obviously the couple touchdowns, no turnovers. It was close. I mean, he was close. He did have one or two throws that were, he was maybe a little fortunate to get away with. But I mean, you stack this game with last week where he played, I think, very well, and Darnold seems to be ticking back up again. And I think one of the big things with him today was that he was willing to throw it to other guys, because Justin Jefferson had one catch before overtime for like 7 yards. But and he did draw I think a couple of flags, so he was a factor in that way too. But we've seen it in some of these games where Darnold just wants to force that ball into Jefferson, and he did a couple times in this game. But he was willing to fire it into Jordan Addison, who had one of the best games of his career, maybe the best game of his career. And Hawkinson ended up with actually a pretty big game. A lot of that was late, but he ended up having a big game. And Aaron Jones had over 100 yards on the ground. And Naylor got a touchdown. Like, this was a little bit more of like, early season Vikings passing offense, where we were getting a lot of guys involved in a big way. And so it's like, and I'm sure Jefferson, statistically, this was probably one of his worst games as a pro. I mean, I think he only had the 2 catches officially for, I don't know, what, 30 yards maybe. It wasn't much, but when teams, if teams are gonna blanket him, and they're gonna keep doing it, that's where the Addisons and the Hawkinsons and Aaron Jones and all these other guys come in, and Darnold did a really, really good job in this game of getting the ball to these guys. And so I would, the Darnold roller coaster, I wouldn't even call this too much of a roller coaster. I think this was mostly just a very good game. And hopefully this is, the fact that he's, he had that great start to the season, dipped for several weeks. Now it's going back up again. And it's going back up as we head into December. This was our last November game. We swept November. Going into December, we're rolling towards the playoffs. I mean, we had like a 95% chance of making the playoffs coming into the game. I gotta think that went up a little bit more just from us winning. Washington lost, so that gives us a little more cushion in the wild card. Fortunately, the 49ers are shitting the bed, but I mean, they have a whole team of backups out there. So Packers will win, but that whatever, screw them. If this team's going to do something, they're going to be in the playoffs. If they're going to do something when they get to the playoffs, we're going to need this level of Darnold play. We're going to need him to be, putting up big numbers and getting the ball to our stars. And he did a really good job of that today. And at the biggest moments, the biggest moment, the biggest drive of his Vikings career so far, he came up big. And I think everybody should be really, really encouraged at that. And so I think that was really, really encouraging. Obviously, we lost Cam Robinson. I think it was that. I think it was in the first half. So it was Quesenberry at left tackle for for most of the game. Offensive line I didn't think was too bad. But I don't. Bears aren't like the best team defensively anyway. So it's like we survived that, but we'll see. I mean, the fact that Robinson left, in the first half and didn't come back, that's not a good sign. Obviously, we're already down Darisaw, and he was our replacement for Darisaw, and he'd been pretty good since we got him here. And now we're down another guy. I don't know what I mean, if he's out for a long period of time, I guess it'll be Quesenberry, but he's like just a journeyman guy. There's no trade deadline anymore. There's nobody you can go trade for. I don't know if there's any free agents out there that are just sitting around that we could go get. Probably not. Probably nobody better than what we already have. So, we'll see what happens with him. With the injury report and everything, we lost Ivan Pace I don't think he was out I don't know if he was out for the game or not. He got hurt, but he got hurt again. He got rolled up on. Of course, Darnold. How am I just now remembering that Darnold? I forget what drive it was. Was it it might have been the drive where they went and got the field goal late. Darnold actually went out for a couple of plays, and Nick Mullins came in, and it was like a 3rd and long, and he threw a nice little pass to Aaron Jones, who ran for a big first down. That was nice to see Nick Mullins show up and be in a position where he has to throw, and he threw and he made a nice play. Most of that was yards after catch, but it was still a good play. But then Darnold toughed it out. I mean, got to give Darnold credit. He's a tough guy. He's gotten dinged up a few times, and he's been on the injury report a couple times. But he's a gamer. But yeah, as far as injuries, I don't know if there was anything else. But yeah, run game was good. Aaron Jones, he broke off a couple long runs early, and then he fumbled. It's like, God damn it, But he atoned. He had some good plays the rest of the game. Got over 100 yards. We shut their run game down again. We've been shutting running games down all year. I think Caleb Williams was their leading rusher. Some of that I think is just teams know that they can throw on us. If we're not getting pressure, they can throw on us, and boy, did they throw on us today. But what else for the game? Obviously, Romo, good for Romo, getting his first official game-winning field goal. I mean, technically he had one against Jacksonville to put him ahead, but this was the end of the game kick, and so I think he's got, what has he got? Assuming Reichert is out for just the 4 games, I think there's maybe one more game for Romo. But he's putting it out there that he's a pretty good kicker. If when the time comes to activate Reichert, and we'll probably waive Romo, he'll be kicking for somebody. He might be kicking for a playoff team here in a few weeks. I can think of a team with a former Viking at their quarterback position that could use a kicker. But yeah, Romo's earning himself a job for sure. But so good for him to get that. Good for Darnold to get a game-winning drive. It's just the fact that it got to this point. Again, 27-16 with 30 seconds left. and you let this happen. You let this get to overtime. This, I mean, this could, if this had gone wrong in overtime, this would have been one of the all-time Vikings losses. It really would have been just absolute inexplicable, inexcusable Vikings losses ever. Because I don't know if we've seen them lose games where they've had a late lead of like one score, go to an OT and lose. I can't, I'd have to look through the history books to find one where they had a, any sort of multi-score lead like in the final minute and lost. I'm sure it's happened, but I bet it hasn't happened very often. Because again, you need that onside kick, and that's so hard to get now. And they wouldn't have gotten it either if Johnny Munn just paid attention. But so 9-2, we did win. I'm happy that we won. I mean, very relieved that we won. So we're 9-2. We swept the month of November, which we had to do. I mean, since September, I was looking at this like, you know, even when the start of the season had the lower expectations, it was like, if we can get through to, basically through about that first 6 weeks or so, and then the schedule eases up, with all these AFC South teams and the Bears, and then, I mean, the Cardinal game might be harder. They're playing right now. I don't know if they're winning or not, but they're going to come in here, certainly in playoff contention, and then Atlanta, like, and then we got Seattle in December. Like, I think every game we have in December, except for the Bears, we still get the Bears here. Probably in a few weeks on Monday Night Football. They are flexing games now. There was talk that maybe they would flex the Cardinal game next week to a Monday night. So it's possible they could flex Vikings Bears off of that, but they probably won't. So that'll probably be a Monday night game. But so we got 6 games left, and 5 of them are going to be against playoff contending teams. We got Cardinals, Falcons, then Bears, then at Seattle, then home to Green Bay, at Detroit. And it's still possible the Detroit game might not mean anything. Detroit had another easy win today because the Colts were awful. So I didn't think the Lions were going to lose today, but I had a little bit more hope than certainly some of their recent games. But they just keep rolling. They're 10-1. So we're keeping pace with them. I mean, we've done what we've had to do to keep pace with them. But I still think, we almost have to win out. Like, Detroit does still have to play Green Bay again. They got to play Buffalo. I think they have 1 or 2 other, tricky games in there. But I mean, they're just steamrolling right now. And they look unbeatable, really. I mean, their defense hasn't even lost a step since Hutchinson went out there. Like, they're just not. They don't look mortal at all. About the only game, I mean, even the one game they looked mortal, where they throw 5 interceptions, then they get like 2 miracle field goals that somehow manage to stay straight, and they win. I mean, they look every part of the just unbeatable team of destiny. But the Vikings can't do anything about what Detroit does. Maybe in Week 18 we can do something about what Detroit does, but we can't do anything about it right now. And all we can do is keep winning games. We're 9-2, man. I mean, this is so much better than anything I would have expected this year. I had them on 7-10. Some people had them at even less than that. I thought maybe our peak could be maybe sneaking into the last wild card. Right now, we look like a pretty good bet to be the top wild card. And again, I want to win the division. I want to win the North. But you get one, really, either of those top 2 wild cards. You're facing a team on the road that's pretty beatable. Because whoever wins the South and the West, those teams are not going to be, great. And you got a little more cushion in the wild card. Washington lost at home to Dallas today, so they're falling off now a little bit. You got all those teams in the West that have like 5 or 6 losses. They're all good, and they still have to play each other. So there's gonna be a lot of losses there. Like, unless the Vikings absolutely implode and just don't win another game, they're going to get in the playoffs. I mean, if they win like 2 more games, they're basically a shoe-in to make the playoffs. You know, and I think they're going to get a lot more than 2 more wins. I mean, the 6 left, I would be shocked if they don't win 3. Even with the competition. Um, you know, especially if Darnold keeps ticking up and defense. I mean, obviously, had a very disappointing performance today, but they have been better recently. Now we got Kyler Murray next week. That's gonna be a challenge. And then obviously the big one the week after, Kirk. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Atlanta seems to be trending down, so maybe it's not even going to be much of a challenge to beat up the Falcons. But you obviously got the 3 home games in a row now, 4 of them in December with the Green Bay game. I mean, I think you got to win 3 of those. Like if you had to choose, obviously I would rather beat Green Bay and then pick either of the other 2. Obviously, you probably want to win the division game because you gotta, if anything comes down to tiebreakers, you gotta have your division wins. But just gotta keep going. And I mean, it'd be nice to clinch a playoff berth with a couple weeks to play, and then we can figure out seeding and maybe divisions after that. But this was. We make it hard on ourselves. This was one of the all-time examples of a Vikings win that was harder than it needed to be, but we got the win, and I'm very happy and relieved that we got the win. Don't have to worry about Soldier Field again for a year. I think they might even be building a new stadium here sometime soon in Chicago. Maybe once that stadium is gone, maybe it was the stadium. It's just pulling teeth every single year, even to win games. I mean, they've actually won now 5 in a row. It doesn't feel like it because these games are so tough to win there, but they got it done, and more positives than negatives. I mean, if that last couple minutes there didn't happen, there'd be a lot more just positive than negative to this game, but you got to play the whole game, and you have a chance to just put that nail in the coffin. You got to do it. Although I thought they had put a little bit of a nail in the coffin, and then the last minute and a half happened. So, all right, I've been going for 32 minutes. That's a long video. But, so yeah, crazy game. But we got the win, 9-2. One step closer to the playoffs. I mean, we were 95% coming into the week. We're probably even higher than that. But the percentages don't matter because we had a 99.9% chance of winning at one point in this game today, and we almost lost. So assume nothing. Assume that nothing is locked in until it's locked in. So I'm going to stop talking and maybe watch the rest of the Packers game because unfortunately they're winning. I maybe don't even want to watch. But see what happens with the other games. Thanksgiving week coming up. I know the Packers play Thanksgiving night. They're hosting Miami, who's started to play better. So maybe Miami can help us out, give us a little Thanksgiving treat. And Detroit, of course, plays Thanksgiving. They're hosting the Bears. So if we haven't sucked the soul out of the Bears, maybe they can help us out. But I wouldn't count on it. But all the Vikings can do is just keep stacking those W's and get in the playoffs. And hey, get in the playoffs, do something in the playoffs. I'm not expecting Super Bowl from this at all. Let's just keep having a fun season and see where we end up.